everybody, welcome back to an episode of the 3-Count Super. I'm the greatest second place champion in 3-Count history, War Machine MJ, the face of the 3-Count Mafia. And I'm here today to talk about, well, the past 2 weeks of NXT and NXT UK, because I have a serious case of lazies. Yeah, that's what happens every time there's a 3-Count Super. It's because I'm lazy. Anyway, let's just go ahead and jump into the meat of all this. Yep. I'm going to go ahead and start with NXT UK because it's not particularly a bad show. It's also not particularly a good show. It's more or less people's attentions are drawn to NXT, given that it's part of the Wednesday Night Wars. So, yeah, we'll be covering the first 2 weeks of the Wednesday Night Wars on this episode. So, anyway, NXT UK from October 3rd. We kicked off the show with Piper Niven taking on Isla Dawn. This was a nice competitive match. However, in the end, the rowdy Piper Niven got the win over Isla Dawn. Yeah, in the post-match, Piper Niven was, laid out by Jenny and Jazzy Gabert. So, yeah, that'll come back up later. Next, we had a backstage segment where Ilya Dragunov was still not medically cleared from when he had that absolute belter of a match against Cesaro. And Alexander Wolf approached him and said, "Hey, I like you, but you should stay on the shelf. Heal up. I'm going to take your match." And so we had Alexander Wolf taking on Saxton Huxley. Alexander Wolf had no issues, and he puts Huxley away with a powerbomb. Next, we had, we were supposed to have a match between Jack Stars and a Welsh wrestling legend known as Mike Bird. However, Jack Stars was on the business end of a beatdown from Wolfgang and Mark Coffey, who represent, of course, Gallus. Yeah, they took to the ring and they started berating Bird, berating him for training both Webster and Morgan. Damn it, I pulled a rod. Anyway, training both Webster and Andrews, and then proceed to, have a 2-on-1 beatdown on Bird. Then that prompted the tag team champions to come out there, Andrews and of course Webster. But right on their heels was Joe Coffey. He laid out Flash Morgan Webster, and then the rest of Gallus focused their attention on Mark Andrews, laying out both tag team champions to basically put their name on the map. And in the main event, we had the matchup between Kay Lee Ray, the current NXT UK Women's Champion, and Tegan Nox, the returning Tegan Nox. Yeah, this was a really good match. Both these women kicking the absolute crap out of each other. Of course, the champion, Kay Lee Ray, took advantage of Tegan Nox's past injury to both of her legs. And, yeah, the finish came when Kay Lee Ray put away Tegan Nox with the gory special. And that was it. It was all Kay Lee Ray. Then we move on to the October 10th edition of NXT UK. if it'll load. Thank you. Where we started the show off with Primate and Wild Boar taking on the well, it doesn't give names here, but the team of Pretty Deadly. Of course, Wild Boar and Primate got the victory. They defeated Pretty Deadly, but afterwards they were met by the rest. They were met by Imperiums, Fabian Eichner and Marcel Barthel, who, as they were just jaw jacking with Wild Boar marching down to the ring, you just see Primate just fall out of nowhere on top of Barthel and Eichner. All four men got into it, and towards the end of the beatdown, Alexander Wolf came out of nowhere, jumping the Hunt from behind. Basically, Imperium's, their sole mission is to bring honor back to the ring they hold so sacred. Next, we had the aforementioned Jack Stars taking on the Irish Ace, Jordan Devlin. Of course, you know how this goes out. Jack Stars lost to the Devil Inside. Well, they just call it the Devil's Side, but it's Devil Inside. But yeah, the Jordan Devlin's Devil Inside finisher. That's a great finish. Basically, the opponent's laying on the ground. He grabs them, yanks them by their arm, catches them into a side suplex. It's just so crisp. Really good match. Oh, I'm sorry. Really good finisher. Not really a decent match. Anyway, the Irish Ace then picked up the mic post-match and called himself the biggest star in NXT and basically dared anybody to dispute this claim. Then came out Massive Dave Mastiff, the Bomber, took exception to Jordan Devlin's grandiose comments and basically challenged Devlin to a fight, even though the Bomber had a match. Devlin backed off. Found discretion the better part of valor. Anyway, speaking of Dave Mastiff, he had a one-sided affair against Kenny Williams and, well, just proceeded to flatten him. Yeah, next was the announcement that Gallus, Mark Andrews, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang will challenge Mark Andrews and Flash Morgan Webster for the NXT UK Tag Team titles this week, actually. There was a jaw jack between Gallus and the Tag Team Champions, and that's pretty much all. And in the main event was a one-on-one affair between Piper Niven and Jazzy Gabert. This was just a knockout, drag-out slugfest between two brutes, two imposing monsters. The finish came when while the referee was distracted, Rhea Ripley came out of nowhere, took out Jazzy Gabert, and basically handed Piper Niven the victory. So, yeah, that story is far from done. Now, to move on to NXT, we go back to October 2nd, aka the start of the Wednesday Night Wars, and boy, what an episode that was. We kicked off the show with Shark, the System, as NXT champion Adam Cole, baby, defended his NXT championship against Matt Riddle, the King of Bros. And this was one hell of a match. Had the entirety of Full Sail eating out of the palm of their hands. Uh, Towards the finish, Adam Cole managed to put away Matt Riddle with some assistance of his casted up hand, which Matt Riddle damaged the week before. Basically backhanded him with the cast right into the last shot. And while Adam Cole was basking in his victory, NXT got a huge, huge name. NXT got put on notice as a huge name made his return. We are, of course, referring to the longest reigning NXT champion, Finn Balor, who grabbed a mic, looked Adam Cole in the eyes, and said, "As of now, Finn Balor is NXT. The man is back." Anyway, next. Yeah, okay. Next was a Velveteen Dream segment where he was on his couch with 8 fly honeys surrounding him on the ramp, basically saying he wants another crack. He wants a rematch with Roderick Strong for his North American Championship. Next, we had an absolute barn burner of a match between Mia Yim and the badass baby girl in black, Io Shirai. This match goes back to the Fatal 4-Way number 1 contenders match where Io Shirai almost inked out a victory if it wasn't for Mia Yim. And these two put on one hell of a match. The finish came when Io Shirai put Mia Yim away with a crisp moonsault. Io Shirai's moonsaults are the best moonsaults in the game. That is a textbook example of how a moonsault should be. Not one of these Charlotte Flair eventually I'll land moonsaults. It's just crisp and quick. Next we had Johnny Gargano taking on Shane Thorne. This goes back to a couple weeks when Shane Thorne berated Johnny Gargano for coming up short. And these two put on one hell of a match. However, Gargano got the win with a super kick. Oof. Next, we had NXT Women's Championship action as Shayna Baszler, the Queen of Spades, put her belt on line against Candice LeRae in, well, I'm just going to use that word again, a knockout, drag-out, slugfest of a match. These two threw everything they had at each other. However, Candice LeRae passed out to the Kirifuda clutch. Shayna Baszler is still your NXT Women's Championship, going on her 1-year reign. Well, close to it. Next was a UK brawl as Pete Dunne took on Danny Burch, the one half of Team 1-2. And these two threw everything they had at each other, just beat the absolute tar out of each other. In the end, however, the Bruiserweight put down the governor with the bitter end. Unfortunately, his victory didn't last long because he was blindsided with a strong right hook from Damian Priest. So that's going to be a killer feud. And finally, in the main event for the NXT Tag Team Championships, the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish defended against the Street Profits. Knockout, drag-out, slugfest of a match, that's what it was. However, in the end, thanks to some shenanigans by Roderick Strong, the Undisputed Era turned away the Sultans of Swag And they stood in the ring celebrating as Adam Cole hit the ring to just kind of, thumbs up. Everything's great. Until that familiar heartbeat echoed throughout Full Sail and the fans just went ballistic. As Tommaso Ciampa came out and just stared at Adam Cole's NXT championship. Of course, it's the same championship that Tommaso Ciampa never lost. And then when he finally eyed up his prize, he locked eyes with Adam Cole, basically saying, "I'm here and you have my property." So that was a takeover level NXT from October 2nd. Didn't outdo AEW in terms of ratings, but that's alright. They don't need the ratings. They still have a bang up product. Next, we move on to NXT from October 9th, which was week 2 of the Wednesday Night Wars. We kicked off the show with NXT Cruiserweight Championship match as The Law, Drew Gulak, defended his Cruiserweight Championship against Lio Rush. Oh boy howdy. This was a fantastic match. Both these men had Full Sail eating out of the palm of their hands. However, in the end, the Law was not enough. And the Law was broken after the midnight hour. Or the final hour. Or was broken at the final hour by Lio Rush. He is the new NXT Cruiserweight Championship. Afterwards, William Regal tried to anoint the new champion when Drew Gulak realized he wasn't having none of it, tore the belt away, started jaw-jacking at Rush, handed him the belt, and gave him a handshake. Clear sportsmanship from the Law. Now, while they have this opportunity, rebrand that belt. I mean, initially, I like the color of the belt, the purple strap, the fact that it looks like a hubcap, not a hubcap, a manhole cover. I liked it initially because it was a different looking belt, but now do something better with it, especially since 205 Live feels like it's hung up in the air. Anyway, next we had, well, I would say a squash match, but a rip match is more like it. As Rhea Ripley took on Aaliyah and just ripped straight through her, no time flat. Rhea Ripley got the win. Afterwards, she picked up the mic and declared that she is coming after Shayna Baszler's championship. She put her on notice. Next, we were going to have Breezango taking on Everrise. Of course, Breezango coming out as construction workers. Maybe that's their gimmick. They're gonna dress up as different professions. Anyway, they were supposed to take on Everrise, aka the NWO version of Best Friends. When, well, Jackson Riker came out dragging both of their unconscious bodies. And then it was changed from Breezango taking on Everrise to Breezango taking on the Forgotten Sons. However, in the end, the fashion workers... Honestly, I'm just digging for layers and pudding. Anyway, Breezango could not stand up to the Forgotten Sons as they put him to bed. Speaking of putting to bed, we had Cameron Grimes taking on Boa. Cameron Grimes made quick work of Boa as both men were ready to go at it as soon as the bell rang. Cameron Grimes distracted Boa, and as soon as Boa charged at Cameron Grimes and the bell rung, double foot stomp, 1, 2, 3. Cameron Grimes won, and right as Cameron Grimes got up from the cover, Out came the Beast of Belfast, Killian Dane. Grimes got the hell out of Dodge, while Dane just beat the absolute hell out of Boa. And then he made a clear point saying, "This is far from over." Next, we had NXT North American Championship action as Roderick Strong of the Undisputed Era took on Isaiah Swerve Scott and his slow grind music. This was another fantastic match. However, Swerve got hung up by Fish and O'Reilly as Roderick Strong executed the End of Heartache to secure his North American Championship reign. Afterwards, in the crow's nest above commentary, was the Velveteen Dream issuing his mission statement to Roderick Strong and the rest of the Undisputed Era. While he was talking, up on the Titantron was a picture of Roderick Strong chilling out on the couch, wearing nothing but the North American Championship. And Velveteen Dream said, "When I strip you of that championship, we're going to find out how small you are." He snapped his fingers, and the picture on the Titantron changed as the North American Championship was taken off. And Velveteen Dream kind of inferred that Roderick Strong has some small business. After Velveteen Dream had his little bit of fun with Roderick Strong, out came Tommaso Ciampa, who came out dragging his crutch, his trademark crutch, goes over to a part of the barricade, pulls out a steel chair, slides into the ring as Undisputed Era are retreating from the Blackheart. Ciampa then takes the chair, pops it open, and while staring at Adam Cole, he looks at him and goes, "Goldie, Daddy's home." The crowd started chanting, "Daddy's home." Tommaso Ciampa's just pure gold. Masterclass. Next was yet again another knockout, drag-out, slug-out fight as Bianca Belair, the EST of NXT, took on Dakota Kai, the captain of Team Kick. Yeah, they beat the absolute holy hell out of each other. However, it was Bianca Belair who put the cute kicking Kiwi out with the KOD. And afterwards, she picked up the mic and let it be known that she's also gunning after Rhea Ripley and Shayna Baszler's title. So, lots of spicy action in the NXT Women's Championship scene. And finally, we move on to our main event, a clash of size, as the Ring General, Walter, took on Kushida. This was a fantastic match as Walter just imposed his weight upon Kushida, and Kushida just did everything in his power to avoid the big Austrian. He's Austrian. There was even the hoverboard lock that Kushida locked in, damaging Walter's striking hand. However, in the end, Walter put away Kushida with his powerbomb, and the Ring General made sure time was up for the time splitter. Oof. It tired me out. I just covered 6 hours of wrestling across 2 weeks. So yeah, it was NXT and NXT UK from the past 2 weeks. You know what time it is. If you miss Rod's opinions but hate his ugly face, he has a podcast Prime Talk with Rodimus Prime on the Castbox app. Go check it out. Anyway, that being said, I'm the greatest second place champion of the 3 Count brand, and I'm also the face of the 3 Count brand, United States of War Machine MJ. And we will see you guys next time.